Toilets, wharipaku, the bogs. Quite the conversation starter, isn't it? Everyone has a toilet story. The good, the crappy, the hilarious, the downright explosive. Going to the toilet is a basic human bodily function. Everyone does it, everybody poops, including my very fluffy cat Leo, who I busted pooping in my backyard just last week. We locked eyes. It was weird. But unlike Leo, many of us struggle to access toilets when we need them the most, particularly when we're out in public. Research from the UK's Royal Society for Public Health say it even prevents people from leaving their homes because of it. It's called a loo leash. And according to their research titled Taking the Piss, yes, really, that is what it's called, they say it impacts up to 1 in 5 of us. In New Zealand, that's the entire population of the South Island not leaving their homes and engaging in public life, from going to their favourite music venue or shopping or their favourite restaurant or bar or, in my case, sport. Sport is part of what makes us New Zealanders. It's part of our cultural identity, whether on the field or off it, cheering on our favourite teams. Participation and engagement in sport is a basic human right, according to the International Olympic Committee. And do you know what else is a basic human right? Access to clean sanitation and toilets. I've been lucky enough to have had a career in sport. I've travelled the world to some amazing places, the likes of Botswana and Bangladesh, Samoa and Japan. And while every country is different, they all have something in common. Can you guess? But it wasn't the toilets on my travels that got me thinking about this very sticky issue. It was the toilets in my very own backyard. 4 years ago, I was at the Basin Reserve, which is one of New Zealand's best cricket grounds. And, fun fact, it's also the largest roundabout in the Southern Hemisphere. I was sitting on the rolling grassy embankment in the sunshine, staying hydrated, and then nature called. And so off I went to the ladies. And there I queued. And I queued. And I queued. 3 times longer than this actual TED talk, all the while watching men come and go from their toileting place. In the end, I nipped into the men's, and I was greeted by 2 trough urinals and 2 cubicles. When I turned around, there was an entire queue of women behind me. I had started a movement. At that time, the Basin Reserve had twice as many toilets for men than they did for women, and only 2 accessible toilets for those with disabilities. So I started to ring the Basin Reserve and the local council on a regular basis, reminding them that it was that time of month again, time for an update on the upgrades to the toilets at the Basin Reserve. I was a right pain in their ass. But persistence pays off, and to their credit, they gave a shit. Now we've got more toilets for women and girls, those with disabilities, and our gender diverse communities than ever before. Since I started my movement, the New Zealand government has also recognised the importance of proper facilities at our facilities and have invested more than $10 million to ensuring that our sports venues are up to scratch. That means that our athletes who are going into the World Cups, and we've got 3 coming up, the Women's Cricket, Rugby and Football World Cups, all in the next 2 years, that means they can focus on being world-class athletes instead of having to worry about queuing for the toilet in their own changing room or waiting with the public during a game to use the bathroom. Instead, they can focus on the ball and bring home those World Cups. I call that a wee win. Women and girls, the elderly, those with disabilities, and our transgender and gender diverse communities are impacted the most by a lack of public toilets. In New Zealand, approximately 50% of our population are women, 25% have a disability, 16% are aged over 65, and about 1%, or 50,000 New Zealanders, are transgender or gender non-binary. If you're the 1 in 4 who have a disability, it can be really hard finding a toilet sometimes. It's even harder if you're the 1 in 20,000 New Zealanders who are profoundly disabled and rely on carers to survive. I have a friend, Jen. She has a 16-year-old daughter called Charlie, and Charlie is profoundly disabled. Jen got so tired of trying to find a toilet that was suitable for Charlie that she has already joined the movement. She's started to design toilets that allow people like Charlie to participate and engage in public life. These bathrooms have height-adjustable hand basins and toilets and change tables and hoists and showers, and they're popping up all around New Zealand. Then, if you're a woman, there's a good chance you've had to queue for a loo. According to the research out of the UK, 60% of women have had to queue for the toilet compared to just 11% of men. Well, why is that? Well, in a sport context, sport was created by men for men's bodies and interests, and a sports space was created by men for men's bodies and interests. Women didn't traditionally engage with sport, but now we know that is not true. In New Zealand, 72% of women and girls participate in active sport and recreation every single week. And the Basin Reserve report that their audience figures are nearly a 50-50 gender split. Then there's something called the flow rate, and I'm not talking about that flow rate. I'm talking about the flow rate or throughput, the number of people who can access a toilet in a certain amount of time. Women, on average, take about 3 times longer than men to go to the toilet, and it's not because we're in there doing our hair and putting on our lipstick and gossiping away. It's for things like biology, menstruation and pregnancy, primary childcare, restrictive clothing design. So for every 1 toilet that is accessible to a man, including a urinal, there needs to be at least 3 toilets accessible to women. That 3-to-1 flow rate has been legislated in some parts of the United States. In other parts, it's as high as 4-to-1. While the separation of men's and women's toilets work for some, it doesn't work for all. And in fact, it can be downright unsafe. Research out of the University of Waikato, called Counting Ourselves, found that 50% of our transgender or gender non-binary community will not access a public toilet for fear of harassment or discrimination. 4% have been physically assaulted, 3% sexually harassed. More than 70% of that group will not access and participate in sport for the same reasons. On a more global scale, lack of access to toilets can be deadly. According to the United Nations, more than half of the world's population do not have access to clean sanitation. More than 600 million still go in the street. And approximately 500,000 people, more than half of those aged under 5, die from diarrhea every year because of a lack of clean sanitation and toilets. Then there are the dangers that women face when they leave their homes to go to the bathroom in places like India, Kenya, and Uganda. Research out of the US has found that by having more public toilets closer to where people live, shortening the distance in which women have to walk to get to the toilet, can reduce the instances of violence against women by 30%. Then there are the economic and hopefully post-COVID tourism benefits that come with having better toilets. Have you ever been to a restaurant and the food was amazing, but the toilets, well, were a bit crappy? You'll never go back, right? Well, the Singapore Restroom Association, yes, there is such a thing, started the Happy Toilet program, working with the likes of the hospitality industry, tourism and sports stadiums to ensure that the public were happy to use the toilet and happy to leave once they've done their business. They have a ranking system and even a map so that the public don't have to worry about being caught short. And do you know what happened? People returned again and again, spending their money in their local economy. On a more local level and in our own backyard, how do we create safe, secure, sanitary, equal toilets for all? One suggestion is that we just flush the men's and women's toilets and have 100% gender neutral toilets. But that clogs the bogs even more. Just ask the Old Vic Theatre in the UK, who recently redesigned their toilets, got rid of the men's and the women's, made them all gender neutral, and had some urinals for men. Not only did women have to queue with other women to use the toilet, they also had to queue with men. While I don't have all the answers, I do give a shit, and I hope you do too. And joining this movement where we're trying to get safe, sanitary, secure, equal toilets for all is really easy to join. It takes just one wee action from you. Start a conversation. Share a toilet story. Encourage someone to share theirs. You never know, they might be good, crappy, hilarious, or downright explosive. If you're a woman, high chance you'll be in a queue very soon. Great opportunity to talk about that 3-to-1 flow rate. But just keep talking. Persistence pays off. Together, we can smash the cistern and unclog the bogs once and for all. Go well.